Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Swallowed Star 2, Land of Origin. Volume 12, Lord Luo Feng. Chapter 444, External Manifestation. 19th of Volume 12. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. Luo Feng's blood shadow blade could slay all matter and energy. With the assistance of 6 lords, he effortlessly severed through the obstructing forces. With a flash of the blade light, he completely shook off the Xuanhuan ancestors' interference. Whoosh. After the interference significantly weakened, Lord Xingmeng's control over time-space greatly increased, allowing the blade's light to instantly pierce through time and space. In that instant, the Xuanhuan ancestors lost any hope of pursuit. We can't catch up, the Xuanhuan ancestors conceded. That blade of Luo Feng's is truly unique, the Bingfeng Xuanhuan ancestor remarked. All the forces that tried to block it seem to have split apart of their own accord. It's completely unstoppable, Wugu Xuanhuan ancestor agreed. Even if the obstructing forces were 1 or 2 times stronger, they still couldn't have stopped that blade's light. The Xuanhuan ancestor of space-time said, Yuan can perfectly integrate different forces, amplifying the battle formation's power several-fold. Luo Feng, however, relies on his individual strength. If he wants to escape, there's nothing we can do to stop him. Luo Feng is indeed formidable. The Chushi Xuanhuan ancestor also sensed the overwhelming power of that blade. It doesn't matter whether they flee or not, the infinite serpent Xuanhuan ancestor said, his voice booming with delight, the 8 lords are immortal. Even if 1 or 2 of their main combat clones are defeated, they'll quickly recover. Whether they run or not is irrelevant. What's important is, Yuan has indeed suffered a severe blow. Yanwo Xuanhuan ancestor agreed, Yuan has lost all connection to the outside world and can no longer resist. That's why Luo Feng and the others fled in such disarray, too afraid to engage further. He's completely immersed now. It seems the effect is even better than I anticipated, Moji Yusi chuckled softly. As the Xuanhuan ancestors rejoiced, their apprehension of Moji Yusi only deepened. If Moji Yusi, wielding highest level soul power, with the assistance of 6 companions, was able to actually wound Yuan's spiritual will consciousness system, could the other Xuanhuan ancestors defend against such a soul-based attack? If we give him some time, he should recover, right? The Bingfeng Xuanhuan ancestor asked worriedly, his gaze turning to Moji Yusi. Shajo also looked at Moji Yusi. HMPH. Moji Yusi spoke with confidence. I expected him to maintain a shred of clarity and retain at least 10 to 20% of his power. But the actual effect surpassed my expectations. He's completely lost all connection to the outside world. Even if he regains consciousness, I estimate he'll be permanently impaired. Affected forever. The Bingfeng Xuanhuan ancestor, Shajo, and the infinite serpent Xuanhuan ancestor each pondered this with their own thoughts. Even if he spends years trying, he'll only barely suppress the influence. Being able to access even half his power would be impressive, Moji Yusi said confidently. Even an immortal realm entity could be so deeply affected. Wugu Xuanhuan ancestor spoke. Immortal realm entity. Moji Yusi glanced around calmly. Who declared you all immortal? The Xuanhuan ancestors were momentarily stunned. Immortal. This was a widely accepted standard. For example, refining and controlling a mysterious land meant that one's life core merged with the land's origin. Since the mysterious lands had never been destroyed throughout history, controlling one was considered a mortal realm. A life core that could fully integrate with highest level power and manifest within any of its countless clones was also considered a mortal realm. Lords who mastered Xuanhuan level Dao were also considered immortal, as Dao was part of their very being. Since Dao could not be extinguished, neither could they. Immortal. That's just your own belief, Moji Yusi scoffed. If someone could ever destroy the mysterious land, then controlling it wouldn't make you truly immortal. If someday a power could instantly annihilate all your scattered thoughts and clones throughout the infinite Xuanhuan space. Even your life core couldn't hide. Even practitioner lords. If their very souls could be erased, their memories rewritten. Do you still think they're immortal? Moji Yusi laughed heartily. The surrounding Xuanhuan ancestors fell silent. Only I. Moji Yusi declared with supreme confidence, I wield the highest level power of the soul. No one can touch my essence. My power is dispersed across countless lives below the Xuanhuan ancestors, even across countless origin worlds. No one can ever eradicate me. Moji Yusi, stop spouting such nonsense, the Bingfeng Xuanhuan ancestor said calmly. Even if Luo Feng himself were to remotely project his power across vast distances, he couldn't kill a world-level Xuanhuan lifeform. Annihilating all of a Xuanhuan ancestor's clones scattered across the infinite Xuanhuan space. That's impossible. Destroy the mysterious land. Refining it is already so difficult, how could anyone destroy it? I've never even heard of such a thing. Although the Xuanhuan ancestors collaborated with Moji Yusi, they harbor deep resentment toward him. After all, Malgus, in addition to devouring countless souls from the origin worlds, also consumed the souls of numerous innate Xuanhuan lifeforms. The Hunyuan ancestors could do nothing to stop him, forced to endure his presence. HMPH. Moji Yusi sneered, showing no pretense of politeness. Apart from Lord Xingmeng, the other Hunyuan ancestors had no power over him. Why bother with courtesy? He held them all in contempt. Even the so-called immortal were flawed in his eyes. Even if Yuan regains consciousness, his power has been severely diminished. The combined threat of the 8 lords has been greatly reduced, the infinite serpent Hunyuan ancestor declared, his voice booming. This battle has been a decisive victory for us. We should return first and hold a grand victory feast. Afterward, you may all depart, the infinite serpent Hunyuan ancestor suggested, his mood buoyant. Everyone, do not depart separately. The 8 lords might hunt you down one by one, Yanwo Hunyuan ancestor cautioned. They needed to travel for several days, completely leaving the southern river territory, before dispersing safely. Leaving now would be suicidal, the lords could catch up in moments and pick them off one by one. Let's go. Ha ha ha. The Hunyuan ancestors conversed cheerfully, their spirits high. The Practitioner faction has lost, observed the Hunyuan ancestors who hadn't participated in the battle, including the Giant God Emperor, Hunyuan Beast Ancestor, Fuji Hunyuan Ancestor, Shu Suwei, Mo Shu, Kafusho, Feather Emperor, and Hermit. They watched from afar. The Hunyuan ancestors ultimately have greater numbers and far too many coordinated strategies. Now that they're using soul-based techniques against Yuan, he can't defend against them. Moji Yusi harbors a deep hatred for the Practitioner faction. He must have been preparing this move for a long time. The observers sighed in sympathy. If Yuan couldn't recover to his peak, the 8 lords' combined power would only be 60% to 70% of their former peak, significantly weakening their deterrent power. Luo Feng and the 7 lords, along with Yuan, had already fled far away. With Lord Xingmeng's mastery of time-space, they were certain the Hunyuan ancestors' forces couldn't catch up. Yuan is completely trapped. The 7 lords watched Yuan, whose expression was calm, as if he were asleep. Brother Yuan is completely immersed and has lost all connection to the outside world, Lord Wulan observed, there's nothing we can do to help. Brother Yuan can only rely on himself now, Lord Xingmeng said. Luo Feng also stared silently. Yuan had always been the most trustworthy member of their faction, and now he had fallen. I believe in Brother Yuan, Lord Jin said, looking at Yuan as if he were in a deep sleep. We're about to conquer all the origin worlds. At this critical moment, nothing can stop Brother Yuan. The 7 lords had no other choice but to wait patiently. Yuan's spiritual consciousness world. I'm already a lord. I stand at the pinnacle of the infinite Hunyuan space. Why should I restrain myself? I should act with unrestrained vigor. Each of these 7 lords owes me a debt. I am the true leader of the Practitioner faction. As the leader, I deserve the most and the best. I've sacrificed too much, it's time for these lords to pay their price. Bing Feng. He's deceived me time and again. I must make him pay. What he owes me. I'll make him repay it tenfold. Ha ha ha. Why bother with all those concerns? Throw them all aside. This is true freedom, absolute liberation. The Infinite Serpent Clan. I've endured their devouring and slaughter for too long. I am immortal, why should I endure any longer? I'll slaughter them mercilessly, like Xingmeng and Luo Feng slaughtered those world-level Hunyuan lifeforms, until they never dare devour another origin world again. Only by shedding all restraints and embracing ruthless mercilessness can one wield true deterrence. Yuan now possessed 7 distinct consciousnesses. Apart from his self-awareness, honed over countless ages, 6 additional consciousnesses had naturally formed from his experiences within vast illusionary realms. Each of these 6 consciousnesses reflected aspects of his true nature, spontaneously nurtured into being. One embodied great freedom. Another radiated domineering strength. A third exuded venomous cunning. Yet another demanded absolute fairness. Throughout his cultivation years, external pressures had suppressed his innate nature. Now, these suppressed aspects had coalesced into distinct subconscious entities. Each consciousness was a natural manifestation of countless inner thoughts, an integral part of his being. These 7 consciousnesses naturally competed for dominant control. These are not my weaknesses, Yuan's spiritual will consciousness observed the 6 subconscious entities. After having been tempered by endless ages, the main consciousness was far stronger and more stable, capable of suppressing the 6 subconscious entities alone. However, this suppression greatly diminished the spiritual energy available for external combat. These are all desires I once harbored. How could I possibly erase what I truly desire? Yuan smiled faintly as he observed his 6 subconsciousnesses. What emoji you see? To nourish new consciousnesses from my countless thoughts. Since they stem from me, they cannot be eradicated. After sensing these subconsciousnesses, Yuan realized that no matter how much time passed, he could never eliminate them. Because many of these subconsciousnesses were ones he himself had acknowledged. The Hunyuan rule operates with the origin as its core, encompassing all possible rules. Light or darkness, compassion or greed, ferocity or freedom. All of this is me. Without hesitation, Yuan made his decision. His most powerful main consciousness swiftly and completely absorbed the 6 sub-consciousnesses. Guided by his spiritual will consciousness system, which followed the Hunyuan rule circulation path, he began merging the various consciousnesses into one unified whole. Yuan's consciousness began to fuse, and his understanding began to shift. Guard the origin. Everything else is merely form. As the main consciousness merged with the 6 sub-consciousnesses, they influenced each other. The operation of their consciousnesses now resembled the circulation of the Hunyuan rule. The origin remained constant, while the forms changed endlessly. Luo Feng and the other 7 suddenly sensed something and saw Yuan open his eyes. They were surprised by the change in Yuan's gaze. Before, Yuan had been calm, reserved, and friendly, eager to connect with others. Now, his eyes brimmed with curiosity, like a newborn baby gazing at the world with wonder. Brother Yuan, Lord Jin spoke up, how are you feeling? Great. Yuan grinned widely, almost exaggeratedly. Better than ever. I have to thank Moji Yuc. He allowed me to rediscover myself. This is the complete me. Ha ha ha. Fascinating. I never realized how much more wondrous the world is than I ever imagined. Different perspectives reveal different landscapes. Yuan could now see far more of these landscapes. The 7 lords exchanged glances. This brother Yuan was quite different from the one they knew. Brother Yuan, your strength. Lord Momen pressed. Unaffected, Yuan said confidently, not the slightest bit affected. This was precisely why the main consciousness had chosen fusion. Only by merging all subconsciousnesses could interference be eliminated, allowing one's full strength to be unleashed. This robe is uncomfortable, Yuan said, finding the color scheme too rigid. With a thought, the robe transformed into a garish, multicolored display. He then kicked off his shoes, reveling in the freedom of his toes as they curled and stretched in relief. The 7 lords stared at Yuan. Don't get hung up on appearances, Yuan said casually, shaking his head, let's focus on the task at hand. The Hunyuan ancestors haven't escaped far. We need to eliminate them quickly. Escape. Luo Feng and the others fell silent. Weren't the ones fleeing just now, lords? Moji Yuc's soul technique is quite formidable, Yuan remarked. Earlier, Moji Yuc, the Nirvana Hunyuan ancestor, the thousand-eyed Hunyuan ancestor, the Xingluo Hunyuan ancestor, the 10,000 tentacled dragon matriarch, the nightmare Hunyuan ancestor, and the dreamweaver, all 7 of them, united against me. If we fight again, we must neutralize this soul threat first. Otherwise, it will target Luo Feng and the rest of you. We must eliminate this threat swiftly, Lord Mingwang agreed, eyeing Yuan's bare toes. She couldn't bear the thought of being reduced to such a state. We'll use the long-range killing technique we devised. First, we'll take out the physically weaker nightmare Hunyuan ancestor. Then we'll move on to thousand-eyed, 10,000 tentacled dragon matriarch, Xingluo. One by one, each one we kill will weaken their combined technique. The more we eliminate, the weaker the threat becomes, Yuan said with a smile. Yuan, are you alright? Lord Jin asked, concerned for his old friend. Yuan looked at Lord Jin and chuckled, better than ever. Then let's move out, Lord Xingmang said. Luo Feng also suppressed his worries about Yuan. The 8 lords set off once more, pursuing the Hunyuan ancestors. The Hunyuan ancestors were returning through time and space in a grand procession, their forces remaining united. The 8 lords are coming. The Hunyuan ancestors sensed their approach. Could Yuan have recovered his strength? The infinite serpent Hunyuan ancestor, Bingfeng Hunyuan ancestor, and the others all turned to Moji Yuc. Impossible, Moji Yuc shook his head, he couldn't possibly have recovered. He was supremely confident. However, he underestimated the current Yuan. Yuan's Hunyuan rule circulation path had always been versatile, encompassing many paths, including a strong spiritual will consciousness system. The formation techniques was something that Yuan created himself. Since comprehending the origin system and achieving true perfection in his Hunyuan rule circulation path, Yuan's spiritual will consciousness system had grown even stronger. For any other practitioners, merging diverse consciousnesses from different powerhouses would only result in an uncontrollable madness, a suicidal act. But Yuan had stabilized the origin core of his spiritual will consciousness. Guarding the origin, everything else was merely external manifestation. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel.